Viral storytelling script. The Pitbull refused to leave the child's side, licking the same spot on her face over and over, frantically pawing at her cheek. When Marcus and Elena saw the angry red rash spreading across their daughter's skin, they blamed the dog for causing an infection. Marcus grabbed Bront's collar, ready to remove him from their home forever. Elena screamed at the animal she once trusted. But when the dog planted himself between them and their daughter, refusing to move, something made them stop. What they discovered at the emergency room was so shocking it changed how they understood the animal who lived in their home. Before watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another heart-gripping story like this one. Marcus and Elena had always considered themselves good parents, careful parents, the kind who checked every ingredient label, installed outlet covers before their daughter could crawl, researched every parenting decision until their eyes burned from screen fatigue. When they adopted Bront 3 years ago, before little Sophie was born, they'd done their homework. Pitbulls got a bad reputation, everyone said, but with proper training and love, they were gentle giants, family dogs, protectors, and Bront had been exactly that, until now. "He's obsessed with her face," Elena said one morning, her voice tight with concern. She stood in the doorway of Sophie's room, watching as the 70-pound dog pressed his massive head against their 2-year-old daughter's cheek, his tongue working methodically across the same spot, again and again. "Maybe he's just being affectionate," Marcus replied, though uncertainty crept into his tone. He'd noticed it too. The last 5 days, Bront's behavior had shifted from normal dog affection to something else, something relentless. "It's not normal, Marcus." Elena's hands trembled as she poured her 3rd cup of coffee that morning. "He wakes her up doing it. She pushes him away and he comes right back. He's fixated." "We can keep them separated more," Marcus offered, but even he didn't believe that was the solution. Sophie seemed unbothered by the attention. She'd giggle, push Bront's snout away with her tiny hands, only for him to return moments later. His brown eyes never left her face, particularly her left cheek. "Doggy kiss," Sophie would say, laughing. But Elena wasn't laughing anymore. That night, everything changed. Elena went to check on Sophie before bed, something she did every night, a ritual that brought her peace. She pulled back the covers slightly, adjusting her daughter's position. That's when she saw it. Her breath caught in her throat. An angry red rash blazed across Sophie's left cheek, not the faint pink of irritation. This was inflamed, hot-looking, spreading from the center of her face toward her ear. The edges were raised, almost swollen. "Marcus!" The word ripped from her throat. "Marcus, get in here now." He appeared within seconds, and the color drained from his face when he saw what she was pointing at. "Oh, my God," he whispered. "That wasn't there this morning. I would have seen it." "It appeared overnight." Elena's voice climbed higher. "Marcus, look at it. That's where Bront keeps licking her. That's the exact spot." As if summoned by his name, Bront pushed past Marcus into the room, heading straight for Sophie's bed. His nose went immediately to her cheek, sniffing, then his tongue extended. "No!" Marcus grabbed the dog's collar, yanking him back. "Get away from her!" Bront whined, a high-pitched sound of distress. He pulled against Marcus's grip, scrambling toward Sophie. "He did this," Elena said, her voice breaking. "His mouth—" "The bacteria. He's been licking the same spot, and now she has an infection. Marcus, we have to get him away from her." "I know." Marcus's jaw clenched as he wrestled with the dog. Bront was strong, desperate, fighting against him with an intensity Marcus had never seen. "Help me get him out of here." Together they dragged Bront from the room, the dog's claws scraping against the hardwood floor, his whines turning to barks. They managed to get him into the hallway and shut the door. Even through the wood they could hear him scratching, pawing, barking. "We can't keep him," Marcus said, and the words felt like stones in his mouth. "If he's causing infections, if he's making her sick, we have to rehome him. Maybe my brother would take him." Elena pressed her hands to her face. 3 years they'd had Bront. He'd been part of their family before Sophie existed, but her daughter's safety came first. It had to. "Let's get her to the emergency room first," she said. "Then we'll figure out what to do about Bront." They moved to Sophie's room to get her ready. The moment they opened the door, Bront shot past them like a bullet. Before they could stop him, he was at Sophie's bedside, his body positioned between them and their daughter. "Bront, move!" Marcus commanded. The dog didn't budge. His eyes were fixed on Sophie's face, and he began pawing at her cheek, not roughly, but deliberately, insistently. Then he looked at Marcus and Elena and barked, once, twice, sharp, urgent sounds. "What is he doing?" Elena whispered. Sophie stirred, touching her own cheek. "Owie," she said softly. "Mama, Owie." Elena's heart stopped. She pushed past Bront and lifted Sophie into her arms. Under the bedroom light, the rash looked even worse than before. The center was darkening. The edges were spreading. And now that Sophie was awake, Elena could see her daughter's left eye was slightly puffy. "We need to go now," Marcus said. "This isn't just a rash." Bront followed them to the car, refusing to leave Sophie's side. When Marcus tried to shut the door without letting the dog in, Bront planted himself in the doorway. "Fine," Marcus snapped. "Get in, but stay away from her face." Bront jumped into the back seat, positioning himself next to Sophie's car seat. His eyes never left her cheek. The emergency room was nearly empty at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. A nurse took them back immediately when she saw Sophie's face. "How long has she had this rash?" the nurse asked, her voice professionally calm, but her eyes concerned. "We just noticed it tonight," Elena said. "It wasn't there this morning. I would have seen it." "Any injuries to that area recently? Scratches? Cuts?" Marcus and Elena looked at each other. "She fell at the playground 2 days ago," Marcus said slowly, "scraped her hands and knees, but I didn't see anything on her face." "Sometimes scratches can be tiny," the nurse said, "barely visible, but enough to let bacteria in." The doctor arrived within minutes, Dr. Sarah Chen, according to her badge. She examined Sophie's cheek with a penlight, her expression growing more serious with each passing second. "This is cellulitis," Dr. Chen said, "a bacterial skin infection, and it's aggressive. See how the redness is spreading? How warm the skin is?" She touched Sophie's cheek gently, and Sophie whimpered. "It's advancing quickly?" "How quickly?" Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "If you'd waited until morning to bring her in, we'd be looking at a very different situation. Cellulitis can turn septic within 24 hours, especially in young children. The bacteria can enter the bloodstream, and then we're dealing with sepsis, which is life-threatening." The room tilted. Marcus grabbed the examination table to steady himself. "But we didn't wait," Dr. Chen continued. "You brought her in time. We'll start IV antibiotics immediately. She'll need to be admitted for observation, but she's going to be fine." "I don't understand," Elena said, tears streaming down her face. "How did we notice it? We put her to bed. She was fine. How did this happen so fast?" "Cellulitis can appear suddenly," Dr. Chen explained. "The infection was already developing under the surface. You said she had a playground injury 2 days ago? That's likely when the bacteria entered. It's been incubating, spreading through the tissue layers. Tonight, it finally became visible." "Our dog," Marcus said suddenly, "our dog has been obsessed with that spot on her face for days. We thought he was causing the infection with his licking. We were going to get rid of him." Dr. Chen turned to look at him, her eyebrows raised. "You have a dog that was focusing on this area before the rash appeared?" "For 5 days," Elena confirmed. "He wouldn't leave her alone, just kept licking and sniffing the exact spot where the rash is now." A smile crossed Dr. Chen's face. "Your dog didn't cause the infection. He detected it. Dogs have an extraordinary sense of smell, up to 100,000 times more sensitive than humans. He could smell the bacterial infection developing under your daughter's skin before there were any visible symptoms. He was trying to tell you something was wrong." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. His knees actually buckled, and he had to sit down. "We were going to get rid of him," he said, his voice cracking. "We thought he was hurting her." "He saved her," Dr. Chen said simply. "If he hadn't drawn your attention to that area, you might not have checked on her tonight. You might have let her sleep, assuming she was fine. By morning, this infection could have entered her bloodstream. Your dog's behavior made you vigilant. It made you notice the rash the moment it appeared. That vigilance saved your daughter from a potentially catastrophic outcome." Elena collapsed into a chair, her whole body shaking with sobs. Relief, guilt, gratitude, terror at what could have been. They admitted Sophie immediately. The IV antibiotics worked quickly, and by morning, the rash had stopped spreading. By the afternoon, it was already beginning to fade. Dr. Chen said they'd caught it early enough that there would be no scarring, no lasting damage. Marcus had gone home briefly to get clothes and check on Bront. He found the dog lying outside Sophie's bedroom door, his head on his paws, waiting. When Marcus opened the door, Bront looked up at him with those soulful brown eyes. Marcus dropped to his knees on the floor. "I'm sorry," he whispered, wrapping his arms around the dog's thick neck. "I'm so sorry, boy. You were trying to help her. You knew something was wrong, and we didn't listen. We almost got rid of you for trying to save her." Bront licked Marcus's face, then stood and walked to the car, ready to go back to Sophie. When they returned to the hospital, Bront was allowed to visit briefly. Hospital policy didn't usually permit it, but Dr. Chen made an exception. The moment Bront entered Sophie's room, his whole body relaxed. He approached her bed carefully, sniffed her cheek, and then lay down beside her, satisfied. Sophie's little hand reached down to pat his head. "Good doggy," she said. Elena stood at the window, watching her daughter and the dog who'd saved her life. "We were so ready to believe the worst about him," she said quietly. "We saw his behavior as a threat when it was actually protection. How could we have been so wrong?" "We were scared," Marcus said. "We saw what we expected to see instead of what was really happening. He operates on a level we can't even comprehend," Elena continued. "He knew days before we had any idea. He was trying to warn us in the only way he could." They brought Sophie home 2 days later, the infection completely under control. Bront hadn't left their side since being allowed to visit. He seemed to understand that his job wasn't finished until Sophie was home, safe, in her own bed. That first night back, Marcus and Elena stood in Sophie's doorway watching as Bront curled up on the floor beside her bed. His position was deliberate, protective. One eye remained open, watching over her. "We'll never doubt him again," Elena whispered. "Never," Marcus agreed. From that day forward, Bront's place in their family was different. Not just a pet, not just a dog. He was Sophie's guardian, operating on instincts that transcended human understanding. When he acted strangely, they paid attention. When he focused on something, they investigated. They had learned that his senses could detect dangers invisible to them, threats hiding beneath the surface of their ordinary lives. The neighbors who'd whispered concerns about having a pit bull around a small child now called Bront a hero. The family members who'd suggested getting a safer breed apologized. But Marcus and Elena didn't need external validation. They knew the truth. They'd seen it with their own eyes. Sometimes the line between life and loss is guarded not by human vigilance or medical technology, but by the ancient instincts of an animal who loves without condition. What we fear often protects us from what we cannot see. Bront couldn't speak their language, couldn't explain what he smelled or why he was so desperate to make them understand. But his persistence, his refusal to abandon his warning even when faced with their anger, had saved Sophie's life. In their rush to protect their daughter from an imagined threat, they'd almost removed the very guardian who stood between her and real danger. The wisdom isn't always found in human reason. Sometimes it lives in the knowing eyes of a creature whose senses reach beyond our limited perception, who understands threats we cannot comprehend until it's too late. If this story opened your eyes to the incredible bond between animals and the families they protect, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Share it with friends and family who have pets they consider part of their family, because sometimes the greatest protection comes from the guardian we almost sent away.